Well, joining us now is Mike Savage, Mayor of Halifax, also the chair of the Big City Mayors Caucus. Mayor Savage, always good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks. Good to see you again, Michael.
Listen, let's start here at the Big City Mayors Caucus, because you are, again, calling for big increases in infrastructure funding in the next federal budget. But, you made a similar call right before the fall economic statement. It didn't seem to really resonate very much. Do you think you'll be heard this time around?
Well, are we asking for infrastructure money? Yes, but what we're really asking is for the government to follow through on a commitment that they made last year, which was to have a new infrastructure program unveiled. So we just need to see the details of that. There's a lot of stuff at stake for municipalities who are financially stretched, but who have a lot of infrastructure needs and a growing population. So we're asking and we've met with some members of the government today, and we've reiterated that request to show us the plan so we can work on it together.
So what's missing here? A dollar figure rollout, specific priorities? What are you looking for in particular?
Well, overall, what we're looking for is, I don't want to use the cliche, but fairness. So we support very much the growth of Canada. Canada is growing at a remarkable rate. My own city of Halifax has been growing at a remarkable rate. And when people come to this country or to a city, right away they start paying things like sales taxes and income taxes, and that is a boost to provincial and federal revenues. But it's not necessarily a boost to municipal revenues. In fact, for us, it's a cost. We have to pay for the infrastructure. People move into a new home or an apartment, they expect water to come out of the tap when they turn it on. They expect to have transit that they can because we want transit-oriented development. They expect parks for their kids to play in. They expect all the usual infrastructure. So what we're saying is, if all the money is going to other orders of government, but a lot of the cost is coming to us, we are responsible for 60% of infrastructure in this country, then we need to sit down and say, how are we going to pay for this? We want growth. We support growth. We want people to come from other parts of the world to come to Canada. But somebody has to pay the cost when they get here. And it's not just building a house, it's all the infrastructure around that house, most of which falls to us as municipalities.
Okay, and I hear that. As you say, it is municipalities, cities that are paying the infrastructure, the vast majority of the cost of that. But still, when you look at municipalities, they essentially are creations of the provinces, so not creations of the federal government. Are you barking up the wrong tree here?
Well, I think we've had good success with the federal government, and there have been different levels of success with provincial governments. The bottom line is that we need everybody at the table, and what we're talking about is a new municipal growth framework, which will only come about if we can sit down with the federal government and with our provinces and work it out and lay out exactly what the costs are and what the revenues are from people who are moving to this country, and in some cases even moving from province to province. So we want our FCM is nothing if not collaborative. We want to work with everybody, and mayors across the country will work with our provincial governments. But the feds have been helpful on a lot of things in the last number of years. Direct investments in cities have paid off. They've housed people. They've moved people back and forth throughout our municipalities, and they've made life better for the citizens who are here. And as more are coming, there's going to be more costs, and we want to make sure that the revenue is accorded more fairly and reasonable.
Yeah, now I don't have to say this to you because you know it very well. Revenue is a challenge for cities right across the country. There's been some even suggestions of perhaps a municipal sales tax, a portion of the federal tax going directly to municipalities. What is your thought on that? What is FCM's thought on that?
So we have done a lot of work on this in the last little while, and we've had a number of conversations with the federal government and with some provincial officials as well. So we don't want to say there's only one solution. We want to sit down and say, what is the best solution? But for example, I think something that is tied to growth. So whether it is a sales tax, Quebec has introduced a situation where a percentage of sales tax can go to municipalities. You've seen in Ontario, recognizing the limited fiscal capacity of cities, that the Ontario government has taken over some big infrastructure responsibilities. So there's a sort of growing understanding that municipal governments simply don't have the resources that are required for the infrastructure that we need. So if you ask me the best solution, it's something that's geared to growth, that recognizes who has the costs to support that growth, And it could be a sales tax. It could be something else. I don't think it has to be a new tax. I think all we're saying is as revenues increase, that they should be fairly shared.
Mm-hmm. Now, you use the word growth there, and it makes me wonder about the different policies that Ottawa pursues. And I wonder if Ottawa is actually doing enough consultation before pursuing these various policies. Is this government doing enough of the groundwork to ensure that federal initiatives like immigration are successful at the local level more than they actually are?
I come from a city that's grown in the last 10 years by probably more than 100,000 people, many of whom are from other parts of the world. And they bring a lot to our community. They bring not only themselves, their families, they bring jobs, they bring inspiration, they work hard, they do a very good job. And so we support growth. We think that growth is a good thing for Canada. And we're not saying to the federal government, you've messed that up. What we're saying is if people are going to move here, let's look at what the needs are of those individuals. How do we service them? How do we keep the promise to them when they come to this country? And how do we make sure that the infrastructure is there and that we share the cost of providing that infrastructure? Because we're not sharing the revenues really very fairly right now. So we need to look at the cost and the revenue and say, how do we support those people that are coming to this country?
So a lot to discuss there. But, just very quickly, because I'm running out of time, ultimately what you want here is some clarity from Ottawa.
There's a lot of things that we want. Climate change is continuing to ravage our communities, policing costs. There's a lot of things, public transit, but a lot of it can be caught up in this idea of looking at the growth of this country, seeing where it's going. It's in cities. How do we share the revenues more efficiently and more fairly? And that's the conversation we want to have, and we'll have it with everybody.
Mayor Mike Savage, always appreciate the time. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Michael. Good to see you.
And you.